Welcome to Bandit's Keep Actual Play. I'm Daniel. We're jumping back in with the Foxes. Now, if you remember, the Foxes have been the most successful group so far. They went to the first iteration, I will say, of the Foxes was incredibly unsuccessful, but the second iteration went into the Orc Lair and got a tremendous amount of treasure, thousands of gold pieces. They also defeated a bunch of orcs, mostly using sleep spells, and tied them up. And with that, they got a lot of experience points. Not so much that they got to level up, that's why they're going back. So they've paid back enough of the treasure to no longer owe their patron any money. So they're going to go back this time, basically to get some more treasure for themselves and make a plan. Hopefully, and again, this is a little meta, but they're hoping to level up. They're all fairly close. So we're hoping to go back in, since we had good luck last time, get a bunch of treasure, and get out. Okay, the Foxes are back. So if you remember last time, the Foxes had an incredibly good dive into an Orc's lair. There's also an Ogre lair nearby. There's still quite a bit of treasure left there, and since they were so successful, they're just going to go right back. They were going to go right back, but it's been almost 2 months now. So one thing they wanted to do, one of their goals, besides from getting as much money as possible, obviously, was to be able to fully equip themselves. So they have updated their gear a bit. They've got some light riding horses so they can move a lot faster. And I'll get into all those details when they get into the dungeon as far as the equipment, but because they're not going to really be using it for this first part. If this is new to you, we are using Outdoor Survival. You can see the map there. With original Dungeons & Dragons, we are using Chainmail as our combat system in this campaign. And what we're going to do right now is move the Foxes, who are starting up here, that's their home base basically, down to the dungeon, which is there. Since they know where they're going, they can move at full speed, which is 10 hexes in the clear. Obviously, different terrain eats up different amount, and we'll talk about that as we hit it. But let's get into it. All right, so they've got 3 weeks rations with them. As always, they always take 3 weeks iron rations when they go out in the field, just to be safe. And what we do here is I'm keeping track of the days they're traveling, and we're looking for whether they can be lost or whether or not they have an encounter, or both. So we roll a d6 each day. If in the clear, which is where they're starting, they roll a 1, they are lost. Okay, that is a 6 on this die. They are not lost. They can move their full movement allotment. So again, it's 10 hexes in the clear. So let me show you how this is done. They want to go through this path. They want to enter it there. That's the best way for them to do it. So they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then a path through the mountains counts as 2 per movement. A path through the woods counts as only 1. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are now stopping in this mountain path. So the way I treat this for encounters is I treat it as if it were a river. I use all paths count as rivers where I'm at, or the way I play it. So if there's a 5 or a 6, there's an encounter. But if we have an encounter, I will roll, obviously, on the mountain table, because we don't want to get, like, you know, a shark or whatever in the mountains. All right, so is there an encounter? On a 5 or a 6 is an encounter. 4, there's not. Going to mark 1 day off, and we're going to start the next day. 6 again, which means, again, they're not lost. That would be a bad roll if they were... oh, right, because on a path, I treat again like a river. They're only lost on a 1. So again, I'm just going to move down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they can end in the clear, which is nice. I'm going to mark off the day. I should be doing that first. And then what we're going to do is we're going to roll. In the clear, there's only an encounter on a 6. 3, no encounter. Okay, that day went by. The goal is to cross this river here, so that's what I'm going to go for. 3 means I'm not lost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, they can't quite get all the ways in. Either way, they're going to have an encounter, a possible encounter in the woods. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop here, because the woods count is 2 each, and they need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they need to move 6 hexes to get to where they're going. When they get there, they're going to have to check for an encounter. If they were to get like right here, which is basically where they could get, they'd be checking for an encounter as well. I'd rather check in the clear. So I'm going to mark a day here. I'm going to roll for an encounter. I rolled a 5, so no encounter. And then we start the next day. I don't want to roll a 6, because I'm sorry, a 1, or I'll be lost. I rolled a 6 again. Wow, this die rolls a lot of 6. I need to use this for my stats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm there. But again, I'm stopping, so I have to check for an encounter. So it's day 4. Are we going to have an encounter at the base of the dungeon? 6. We are. All right. Woods. I'm going to roll a d8 to see what it could be. 6. Men. Oh. All right. So we have men typical, we have men mountains, we have men desert, and we have waterborne men. So we're going to go with typical because we're in the woods. So d12 roll. 3. Ooh, a necromancer. Okay, this is interesting. So a necromancer is basically a high-end magic user. We don't actually know that, I mean, some people think necromancer, that means evil, but not necessarily in this system. So what we need to do is figure out a little bit about this necromancer, but I think we're going to try to avoid them anyways. So we'll try to avoid them, and if we cannot, then we'll figure it out. So number 1, let's see, obviously the necromancer is 1, right? So they're always 100% of what they can be, but any magic user type you encounter in the woods has 2d6 followers with them. Ooh, okay. They only have 3 followers. So there's a potential of 13 of them. There's only 3. So that's like a quarter of the people, right? So when we look at our evasion chart, we are a group of 9. So they are 25% or possible. So we have a 30% chance to evade them. Now we're in the woods, so we add 25%. If we were twice as fast as them, we would add another 25%. But, I mean, we are on horses, but, you know, I would imagine a necromancer traveling through the woods is on a horse. I'm not even going to bother to roll that. We're gonna say we're the same speed. I can't imagine for 1 second they'd just be walking. So I have a 55% chance of avoiding this necromancer. If we do not avoid them, we will figure it out from there. That is a 0, which is perfect, because if I don't roll another 0, then that's gonna, yep, 9. I rolled a 9, like literally 9 on the percentile dice. We see a wizard with 3 apprentices kind of going by on their horses. We duck down, they pass us, nothing. Although, and this could be really interesting, we're supposed to check to see if this is their lair. So could there be a lair in this hex of a necromancer as well? That's very interesting. So let's look in Monsters and Treasure. And when we look under Men, we see there's a 15% chance that this is their lair. So let's see if this is the lair of the necromancer. Nah, 4 and 9 is 49. This is not a necromancer's lair. So that day goes by, and that's 4, and then we're going to enter the dungeon on the next day. Okay, so remember, they know where the orc lair is. They could go into that, or they could go into the ogre lair. I may do some kind of roll for that, but let's take this away. Let's set up the dungeon map, and let's go for it. Okay, it's the 31st of August, and the foxes are entering the dungeon. I'll go over everything briefly, just in case this is your first time here, but the foxes have been here once before. They actually did quite well pulling something like 8,000, almost 8,000 gold pieces worth of treasure, and gaining almost double that in experience points due to the capture and defeat of multiple groups of orcs. Sadly, even with all the experience points, nobody in the party has leveled up yet, although they all are very close, and they are actually free of their contract from their Patreon now. They've paid up enough that this is all profit for them. So they decided to take one more plunge in here before they decide what else they'll do. They'll probably get another map from their Patreon once they do this dive, but they want to come out with hopefully 2nd level and hopefully enough gold to do some other things. So they had bought horses with their cash that they got, and some of the people that were capable of doing so picked up heavy crossbows. I am learning with this chainmail system that heavy crossbows, while they do only shoot once every other round, it's not that common that multiple rounds of missile fire seem to happen. So a lot of the fighters are getting themselves heavy crossbows so that they can do the most possible damage in that, charge forward movement, right? I'm also, if you've been listening to my podcast, I've also changed the combat slightly. So as we go through this, I'll point out what's different. But just to summarize where we're at, I use this book here, the Hobnichi book, to keep track of where everybody is in the world. So that's why this is out. Basically, I've got, nope, that's something else. I've got some notes on my group, and what I use to track them is a couple of things. I've got the character sheets up here if I need to refer to something, and that's also their marching order. So the front is over there, And when they come into a hallway, you can fight 3 wide. So they travel like this, but when they come into a hallway, they kind of reassemble and this person moves forward, you know, so that you can have 3 to block the corridor. So we'll do that. And they rearrange at that point. But for general walking down the corridor, we've got clerics and fighters in the front, some magic users in the middle, and we have a fighter in the rear just for backup, which is a halfling fighter, next to the elf, which is a magic user, but also has capability of fighting because elves can use regular weapons and such. But I have my quick notes here for what I'm working on, so I don't have to worry too much about referring back to those because they're kind of far away. I can't see them. We're going to decide where the party's going to go. This is the orc lair that they investigated before. There's also an ogre lair. I'm going to maybe just roll dice. I think I'm going to look at my notes again to see, because again, the mapper gives them an idea of what kind of treasure is here. So actually, let's take a look right now. So this is basically what's there. The ogre lair has a decent amount of potential, right? But I think the orc lair still carries the most treasure. And honestly, orcs, we know, are more susceptible to things like the sleep spell. And since that worked for us before, I think they're going to go into the orc lair. There's basically more of a chance of that than the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a roll here. Is the party basically curious and wants to explore somewhere new? Or do they want to go where they kind of have an idea? So I'm going to use Matt Jackson's Oracle. So, but he uses red, white, and blue dice. Black is no, white is yes. I'm going to lean towards yes. This is going to be my, what he calls a slider die. So if either 2 of these beat this one, then they're going to go to the orcs. If this one is the highest, they're going into the ogre lair. So let's see what happens. Ho-ho! All right. They get here and they're like, you know what? We haven't explored the ogre lair. Let's do it. And of course, the reality is they have explored it a little bit, and that's when the party got wiped, though they got wiped by orcs. So interesting. All right, let me set this up and we'll come right back. And I'm going to walk through the process here just in case this is your first time. And I want to mention something I don't think I mentioned in the other videos, which is this group, they did lose a character the last time, and instead of picking up another PC, they decided to kind of hire a non-combatant. The reason for that is generally somebody's got to stay outside the dungeon and watch the horses. Last time, well, I should say 2 times ago, they had went out of the dungeon to get one of their PC members and got ambushed by orcs. So this time what they've done is, because a hex is 5 miles, right? So they're just in that hex. I've ruled that they kind of have the pack handler with the horses, maybe like an hour's trek from the dungeon, you know, so they're basically not super close. I will make a roll if they don't get back tonight to see if the pack handler is besieged by anything. But if they are, they're by themselves, so they have a pretty good chance of evading, hopefully. So we'll deal with that at the end if they don't get back out today. So with that in mind, I'm going to only have them explore for about 7 hours max, because I figure an hour to the dungeon, an hour back. 9 hours is probably about as much as you want to be outside or, you know, with daylight and such. If it's a little bit longer, it's not going to be the end of the world, but that's basically how I'm going to do that. I have my torch markers here, so I have 6 because a torch burns for 6 turns. One of the characters is carrying a lantern, though, so I'm going to keep this stack here. And every time we go through 6 turns, I'll remove one of those. That way I can track the lantern. Just an easier way. I do have a sheet for it, but actually this is more visually interesting, I think, for the live stream. The other thing we're going to do is, well, this isn't live, but you know, the stream. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm using dungeon geomorphs. So we've already established that this is the base of the ogres. If the party goes out any of these exits, I'll pick one of these. I'm just going to flip them over. They're kind of just, I'm shuffling them, you know. And I'm just going to put the top one on there, however it sits, and we'll make it work. So there were only 10 ogres here. They defeated once, there was 9. So again, that's not a huge loss in forces, but I'm going to say, did they recover any ogres? So yes or no. Again, the white is yes, black is no. Oh, okay. I'm going to roll again. You could say unclear, but I need to know. Okay, they did not. So there's only 9 ogres in here. The party didn't take any of their treasure last time, so, but let's see. Did they, since they don't have any new ogres here, did they get any more treasure? I'm going to say more likely no. So again, I'm going to use that Mac Jackson Oracle. Yes. Either one of these is no. Okay, no. So they didn't get any more treasure. So everything is the same as it was before. So that's easy. I don't have to do any more paperwork. So the party's going to approach the ogre lair. I'm going to use the rules from OD&D. They can move. They are actually armored foot, so they can move 120 every turn. That is 2 moves each turn. I will roll for a random encounter every 2 turns. And every time they enter a space, I'll roll to see what's in there. On a 1 or a 2, there's a monster. If there's no monster, on a roll of a 1, there'll be treasure. If there is a monster, on a roll of 1, 2, 3, there'll be treasure with them. Okay. The orcs were a little different because the orcs had so much treasure. I said each orc would have treasure on them, but with the ogres, I'm not doing it that way. All right, here we go. Their goal, by the way, and this might seem meta, but again, we're playing a game, and this is how characters would think too. They only need about 400 to 500 experience points apiece. There's 8 of them, so their goal is to get about 4,000 to 5,000 gold pieces and then get out of here. They're not necessarily going to try to clear the whole lair. They just want to get to the next level and get a much stronger party. So here we go. First move. Oh, by the way, I'm using these little guys here to represent the party. These are little 10 millimeter squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a half move. 1. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them come to here. They actually went there last time. They do have a little bit of information and fought somebody, so they know there's a room up there. But I think they're going to try to clear that area first, because again, they know there's another entrance here. So they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they should be able to look down here. So I'm going to know if there's something in this room at the end of this turn. And of course, they have a torch, so they're probably not going to surprise anything that's in the room either. So let's see if there's anything in the room. There is not. No monster anyways. Let's see if there's treasure. Again, on a 6, there's treasure. There is. Okay. All right. It might be on a 1, it's treasure, but it doesn't matter. I said on a 6, so it's a 6. So they look into this room, and we'll say it's some kind of a sleeping area or storage area, but currently it's unguarded. They do see some kind of a chest of treasure. Well, let me see what the treasure is. I have D6 treasures here. I'm just going to roll D6 to see which one it is. So it might be something like, because a lot of it's jewelry and stuff, but some of it's gold. All right, I'm going to roll a D6. 6. Oh man, okay. There's one piece of jewelry here worth 2,000 gold pieces. It's just sitting there. So we're going to say this is maybe some kind of a bedroom, and they kind of come in, because they're going to have to look around, obviously. On their next turn, which I'm going to check for a wandering monster, they'll come in and they'll search the room. They should be able to move in there and search within 1 turn. So at the end of this turn, there's potential for a wandering monster. On a roll of a 1, on a roll of a 1, there's a wandering monster. Did I say 1 or 2 before? But it's a 1. On a roll of a 1, there's a wandering monster. No monster. Okay, they searched the room. They're able to pick up 2,000 gold piece. Wow, no, that's nice. That is them off to a lucky start. So again, 2 turns have gone by. We'll move 2 torches. Okay, being cautious now because they have jewelry and they're happy. They're going to move out and they know there's probably something down here. They're going to explore down there. So again, I'll start them from the center of the room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. They'll just stop here if there's anything there when they get around the corner. So let me roll to see if there's anything in that room. There is a monster. Okay. So again, I'm not using the charts from the book. I have my own monster list here because again, you make your own wandering and lair monsters generally when you're setting up an encounter. So again, they're unlikely to surprise the creature on the other side because they have torches. But the creature, I'll give them a potential depending on who's in there. So I'm going to roll a d6 to see what it is. 5. Oh no, it's orcs. All right. It's orcs by themselves too, no ogres. So 2 to 16 orcs. 7. There's 9 orcs in here. So this is not the orcs' lair. So we could say, so again, I'm going to use the oracle because this is going to determine whether or not we can surprise them. I'm going to say there's a 50-50 chance that they're just arriving or that they basically are waiting here. So if they're waiting, they're not going to be surprised because they'll hear somebody coming. So here's the question. Are they just arriving? Again, white is yes. Okay. Are they just arriving? No, they've been waiting here. Okay, the orcs cannot be surprised. Can the party be surprised? Yes. So 1 or 2, the party's surprised, and this could be very bad. They are not. Okay. Neither side's surprised. The party is going to, obviously we're going to roll initiative because they're orcs. They want to encounter them. I think what they are going to actually do is, yeah, they're not going to be able to cast a sleep spell. So they're going to have to fight them. So they're going to basically form a line. This is their plan. I'm stating the actions. The party's going to form a line, and if they win initiative, they're going to shoot with their bows and crossbows. If they do not win initiative, then as the orcs charge, they'll just drop those. I imagine they have them on like straps around their shoulders. They just drop them down and grab their other weapons that they have. So again, they can do all that during the movement phase. So here we go. Who wins initiative? The party does. Okay, cool. Party wins initiative. So what they're actually going to do so that they can, not be ambushed is they're going to actually move back to here. just a little bit, so that only 3 orcs can make presence. Actually, there's an elf, but they're in the back of the party, so they couldn't have done anything. So they're going to back up, and when the orcs run around the corner, they're going to let loose with their missile weapons. 3 of them are going to be able to, because that's who's in the front, before the orcs make contact. So again, there's 9 orcs here. So orcs are 1-hit die, and I'm using Chainmail, which means that 1 hit, 1 kill, so I don't have to track hit points. So let's take a look at who we have that's going to be able to shoot their missile weapons. Okay, so shooting missile weapons, and then I have 1 melee character. That's a cleric. They're going to step back and let these guns 1 step forward. So basically here with the missile weapons, we've got they have a heavy crossbow. This one has a heavy crossbow and a light crossbow. But actually that's because they didn't get rid of something they already owned. So they have the heavy with them. Heavy crossbow -1 because that's a dexterity penalty. And heavy crossbow. So nobody has any bonuses. So we're going to take a quick look here. The distance is going to be short range, so we'll deal with that in a second. Orcs defend as heavy foot. So a heavy crossbow versus heavy foot is 2 dice per man, 5 or 6 hits. So again, we look at the fighting capabilities of our fighters. They're all fighters. They all fight as 1+1 man. So what that means is 2 dice, right, for this character. And they get an extra die because they're in short range. 1 die for this character, right, because they're -1. But they get an extra one, so they're going to roll 2. And then, again, 3 dice here. All of them can add 1 to one of the dice. So let's go down the line. First character is rolling 3 dice. Any 5s or 6s are kills. Okay, they can add 1 to one of them. So that's 2 kills. The second character can only roll 2 dice. That's 1 kill, because again, they can add 1 to one of them. The third character, they can roll 3 dice. 1 kill. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 9. Okay, we're going to look at Chainmail for a second. Okay, I have Chainmail out here, and I'm looking at the morale section. Now, remember, because this is phased combat, this morale check actually takes place as soon as the losses happen, which means it's happening during the missile phase. So these orcs are running forward. You know, they see somebody. By the way, I just didn't roll for reaction because everything in this is going to be hostile. So anyways, the orcs charge forward. The characters move back a little bit. They lower their heavy crossbows. They shoot them. They've taken out 4/9 of them, so almost half. And we look at heavy foot at 33% losses, which they've reached. They must make a morale check of 7 or better. If they get 66% losses, they automatically fail morale. So the question here is, if they can roll these 2 dice and get 7 or better, then they will charge forward and will have a round of melee. If not, they're actually going to retreat. 6. Okay, so as they're running forward, some of them drop and they fail morale. So they stop, you know, and they're going to retreat. Basically, they're going to retreat. I suppose they're going to run back out the door, and the party's going to have to chase them. So they're going to run, you know. I think what I'm going to do there is I will make another initiative, because they were running. So I think they can't just like run halfway then stop. I feel like the morale, it does happen before melee happens, but actually they would retreat right away. So when you retreat, you move 1 full movement backwards, basically. Actually, let me check. It might be 1.5. Yeah, because basically it says they are removed from the table. So I think in this case, because we're not playing a war game, they're going to actually run. So I'm going to use the other. Well, actually, removed from the table means that they'll probably surrender. So we're going to say there's a good chance they'll surrender. So let's reevaluate this. I'm going to, again, roll the oracle. The black is they run. The white or orange is that they surrender. Oh, okay. So we got a tie. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to roll it again straight up. Black is run. Okay, no, they surrender. They basically run forward. They drop their weapons. Okay, so now the party has, this happened to them before. They have a quandary, right? The characters who didn't fire their missile weapons move forward, and they're going to tie up the orcs. Now, what's interesting here, so there's 9 of these guys, is that the orcs all carry treasure because the orc lair is very rich. So they all have gold that the party's going to strip from them. Each orc is carrying 100 gold pieces. So that's another 900 gold pieces that they can strip from these orcs. Okay. And, okay, so how long... I'm going to do a D3 turns that it's going to take before to get them tied up. They're going to tie them up, and they're going to shove them in one of these back areas. So D3 turns. Okay, 1 turn. The orcs are very, very open to being captive. They'd rather not be killed. Again, the party is lawful. They're not going to just kill the orcs. So they're going to... So again, I'm going to do this like I did before. And there's 2 of these. Is this area over here like a garbage area that they don't go to very often? You know, like the ogres just throw stuff back there. I'm going to give it a better chance of yes. Oh, that's so funny. Is that a 1 or a 6? That's a 6. I got 2 6s on the yes, 1 6 on the no. I'm going to say yes. So they're going to tie the orcs up and they're going to put them back there. There's going to be a very little chance that they will be found. I'll check every 6 turns. Like I'll make a wandering monster check. And if I have a wandering monster check, then they'll be found. But otherwise, and I'll do this so I remember they're there. Otherwise, they're good to go. But between tying the orcs up and all that other stuff, because combat takes a full turn, I'm going to have to make another wandering monster check now. So again, on a 1, we're going to encounter a wandering monster. Okay. They just finish up what they're doing, and they encounter a wandering monster. This must be the popular way in. Okay. So let's see what it is. I'm going to roll a d6. 6. Ooh, 1 ogre plus orcs. Oh boy. Okay, that's not ideal. So the question is, I'm going to give it a 50-50 shot. Are they coming because they heard the combat? Now, the combat was super fast. It seems incredibly unlikely. So I will give it an odd shot. So again, are they coming because of the combat? It's funny, you guys keep rolling the same. Okay, I'm going to roll again. They're not. Okay. 2 6s in a... Okay, so they're just wandering in. So there's a chance they might actually be surprised, because I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I'll start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If they're coming from this area, they're almost certainly surprised because they're coming from the outside and it's during the day. Okay, so roll. No, they're coming from this area. So we need to know what's over there. That's probably not outside, I'm guessing. So let me get a piece of dungeon tile. Obviously, they reloaded their crossbows and all other stuff. So no, they're not coming from the outside. So chances are they probably see the torchlight. Although there is light in there from the cave. So I'm going to give them the orcs / ogre can only be surprised on a 1. The party is surprised on 1 or 2. So I'll roll both. They're both surprised. All right. So they step in flat-footed. So I'm going to roll to see how far away they are, because that's going to be important. Like, when do they get noticed? Oh, 50. Okay. So what I'm going to say then, if they're coming from here, the party's basically going to have been leaving the room when these guys step in, and then they hear a noise, they turn around, and they see them behind. They're both surprised. So now we're going to come down to, once again, movement. So, once again, I think they're going to attack. I have to see how many there are. That's an 8, I think. Yep, 8. Oh my God, 16. Oh, this is going to be bad. There's 16 orcs. And 1 ogre. Okay. And the ogre actually can take 4 hits. So I'm just going to put 4 here. All right. So what the party's going to do, well, they're going to try anyways, is they're actually going to retreat back, because what they need to do is get some space so that they can cast a sleep spell. It might be foolish to do this, but I think they know this room up here is empty, or at least they think they do. I'm going to roll again, and if there's a 1, somebody's in there. But they are going to run back to that room and try to drop the, fully shoot missile weapons and hopefully get a sleep spell going. So the question is, the magic users are very fast, so they're actually going to run, because they can move way faster than anybody else. So the magic users are actually going to run up there. So that, again, could be interesting. So let's see who wins initiative. This is going to matter. Ooh, tie. So I'll just roll again. Oh, they win. Okay. So that's their plan. They're like, whoa, back up. And then they can't. Like, it's too late. They charge forward. They're basically here. Let me figure out exactly where 50 is, because They're here. I want to see if they're actually in this hallway or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, they're actually right there. So I'm going to rule actually at that point that they're actually in the choke spot. So they run forward, and again, they can shoot them halfway because they're moving that far. So I will get a volley of missile fire. So the question is and obviously they can't all be involved in the melee, so I'm going to be able to do some spell casting. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's just handle this first. The question is the ogre leading the charge? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, so the ogre's in front. They're all going to focus on the ogre. That makes the most sense. Ogres are also heavy foot, so we're doing exactly the same thing we did before. The one character gets 3 dice with 1 hit. The one character gets 2 dice with 1 hit. And the last character gets 3 dice. If they can take this ogre out in 1 hit, that will be very good. They do not. Okay, nothing. That is unfortunate. The only good thing about it is that the ogre is actually too big. I'm going to say only the ogre and 1 orc can attack from the front. Now, what that means, though, is we combine forces. This is the part that I talked about where I made a slight change. Instead of worrying about every specific person, we're going to do a majority. The 3 characters in the front are all in plate mail, so they are armored foot. If one of them was in chain, I would still treat them all as armored. I just feel like that's the easiest way to do it. The ogres and the orcs are all heavy foot. So basically, and the party is attacking as, well, they won't get to attack this round. One of them will get to attack, the cleric. Oh, no, actually, he stepped back. They won't get to return blows because they're switching weapons. Although they didn't move, though. You know what? Can they get their weapons out? No. Okay, so they're not going to get a return blow this round. So what we're going to do is we're going to look and we're going to go heavy foot, okay, versus armored. 1 die per 2 men, 6 hits. And remember with these guys, 1 hit is 1 kill as well. They're on first level. So the ogre fights is 4, plus 1 orc is 5. So they're rolling 2 dice. If either of these are 6, one of the party members goes down. Oh, okay. 1 party member goes down. Let's see who it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's this guy. All right. Unfortunately, the dwarf drops. Ooh, bummer. Okay. And that's the end of that first round. Now, because only those guys are involved in the combat, I'm ruling that the magic users from the back can cast a sleep spell, which is exactly what they're going to do. So there is no movement, really. There's no missile fire, unless the orcs want to circle around. I think that's unlikely. Would the orcs run out and try to circle around them? No. Okay. Yeah, no. So they're all charging forward. This is the first, I mean, literally we're like right in the beginning of the combat. They're all trying to get in the front. So the magic user one of them is going to drop a sleep spell into the back. Because at this, well, they lost a party member. Yeah, one will drop the sleep spell. The other one will stand by. And of course, we have 3 fighters in front. All of them are going to use their weapons for melee this round. The other characters, the halfling, the elf, and the other magic user are all going to turn around and make sure they're not attacked from the rear. Okay, so we don't need to roll initiative because, again, everything's simultaneous. Let's do the spell first. Okay, sleep spell does, 2 to 16. And there's 16 of them, so it's going to be 4. Maybe 2 of them should have done it. So, okay, so 7 orcs drop. They're targeting the orcs. Not quite half, but more than a third, right? So they got to make a morale check. So that's good. And again, it happens immediately. So I do this spell casting right after the missile phase, just so if you're wondering about that. So let's make their morale check. They got a 7 or better to stay. 7, okay, they stay. Now we go into the melee. Once again, I'm going to do the ogres first. The ogre / orc, they have 2 dice. Any 6s are kills. No kills. Okay. The party are all attacking as heavy foot as well. So heavy foot versus heavy foot is 1 die per man. So basically, remember, each of these, actually one of them is a cleric. So 2 of them, these 2 dice, will get a +1. So I'm rolling 3 dice, 1 per character, because again, each of them only fights as 1. And any 6s will be kills. This is a straight roll. These 2 I can add 1 to. Oh, of course. Nothing. Okay. End of that round. No kills. Okay, there's still quite a few of these orcs. You know what? the other magic user is going to cast their sleep spell. Actually, I should have taken this away as well. And we're going to continue the battle because that will hopefully wear down the orcs. So again, sleep spell goes off. 1, oh god. And 5, 6 more. Okay, that's enough, I think, to break their ranks. 2. Yeah, it only leaves 3 more, so that's definitely enough. The orcs, the rest of the range of the orcs are going to run or surrender, which I'll deal. Actually, with that number, I think they're probably going to run because of the fact that they're. Well, let's see what happens. The fight's not over yet. So again, well, actually, that will happen immediately. So here's a question: will the orc that's up front? Yeah, they're all running. So now only the ogre is there to fight in the front. The ogre fights as 4. They basically get the same thing, 2 dice. That orc wasn't doing anything for them. Nothing. The ogre isn't checking morale because this is their lair, and I figure, at this point, they might now after the orcs ran. So they don't hit anything, but again, the guys in the front get the exact same thing for the ogre, and they only need 1 more hit on the ogre to kill it. No, 2. Come on. Nothing. All right. All right. So that's now the end of that round. All the orcs have fled. They're running out. This might be the time for the party. The party might actually leave after this. The orcs fled. The ogre's still there. Let's see if the ogre will stay. I'm going to treat the ogre as elite. So they only need 6 or better to stay. They stay. I'm also going to roll a d6 on a 1. Reinforcements are going to come. Nothing yet. Okay, another round of combat. I suppose they could use up their last sleep spell. That would basically guarantee the ogre goes down. I don't know what they'll do. Because I mean they're in a pretty good position, I think. So they're gonna roll here. So yes or no, will they cast that last sleep spell? All right, it's a tie. I'm gonna say no. So let's just go into the combat. Ogre attacks and kills 1. All right, somebody's going down. The cleric, okay. But again, everything's simultaneous, so they'll still get their 3 attacks. Come on, guys. Nothing. Okay, they should have done it. They should have done the sleep spell. But they didn't. Oh, you know what I didn't do before? Let me just do this because this will matter. When this fighter went down, their 1+1 hit die, they basically get a saving throw. I'm going to roll this die. If I get a 1, they're not actually dead. No, they're dead. Okay. Oh, crap. Okay. That's the end of that round. Okay, magic user is going to cast that sleep spell. They got no choice at this point. But I'm going to roll again to see if reinforcements come. No. All right, they cast the sleep spell. The ogre goes down because basically that's okay. Bummer. All right, well, well, actually 3 of them ran. So there are bodies of, should they take the time to loot them? You know what? I'm going to roll. I think they're going to risk it, but we're going to see. Yeah, they do. They're going to take this full turn to loot the 13 orcs, and the ogre doesn't have any treasure on him. So that will give them another 1,300 gold pieces, but that's good. Now they're going to risk a wandering monster or reinforcement. And here I'm going to say it's on a 1 or a 2 because they made noise. 6. Okay. They know where the orcs have been carrying their money. They quickly grab it. It's a lot of gold, so it's slowing them down. But they grab the sacks of gold from the orcs. You know, all these orcs have these really nice sacks that they carry of gold. Maybe it's not. Maybe they didn't. Well, no, it is gold because we want the encumbrance. So with that 2,000 gold pieces and missing, they're not going to be able to carry their party members, sadly. But, you know, being an adventurer, life is ruthless. I don't think they actually have enough. Let me just quickly check because we do have the magic users who aren't carrying much. 100. Yeah, actually, if they split the treasure between those two, they can carry the person and everybody's down to armored foot speed. Okay, so they can, oh no, they have to carry 2 people. Can they carry treasure? Oh yeah, no, they can. They're not carrying that much, and neither are they. Are they in chainmail? Yeah, that's why, okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is they're going to drag the 2 bodies and they're going to retreat. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make 1 more wandering monster check in the vicinity, and then we're going to deal with if they're going to encounter anything on the way home. Nothing. Okay, they are in the woods. We're going to use the wilderness terrain rules. So in the woods, there is an encounter on a 5 or a 6 on a d6. And if they have an encounter, it will be with either the ogres or the orcs. 4, nothing. Okay. They get back to their horses, thankfully, with their fallen party members and with a decent stash of treasure. They're not feeling great about what happened there. But I think what we're going to do, and this is risky, I think they're going to stay overnight. They may go for a second raid. Now, of course, what we're going to do is if they go for a second raid, I'm going to increase the frequency of random encounters to every single turn. And they know that. I mean, they don't know mechanically, obviously, but they do know that obviously it's more risky because they just did it. So how greedy are the adventurers? Let's think about this. Okay, they are going to say one night to think about this. So if they encounter a monster, they're going to evade, and that'll make the decision for them. They do not. But I did think about it, and I looked at the treasure they got and the losses that they've had. And again, they got what they needed. They're going to be able to level up based on what we have here. Most of them anyways. I think even the magic users will be able to. And this will allow us to come back in. So I think what they're going to do, again, I'm going to roll, but I think what we're going to do is there's a better chance they will not go back in. Yeah, they're not going back in. So the party is going to head home. So our party is starting here at the lair. Their goal is to get to here. Again, they are on light riding horses, so they're going to be able to have 10 movement factors. It did not take them very long to get here. They only delved for 1 day. They did stay 1 extra day, though, so we're going to call it the 2nd of September when they're heading home. So at this point, we're going to roll, basically. Number 1, we roll to see if they're lost. They're in the woods. On a 1 or a 2, they are lost. 3, they are not lost. That means they can move their full movement however they want. Now, each hex of woods counts as 2 movement points. So I want to get over here to the plains, because the river all counts as 3, right? So I think, unless you cross at a crossing. I wonder, let me just check this. I've been using this, but if I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I wonder if I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, yeah, I actually end up in the exact same spot. So that's what I'm going to do. Boop. Okay, so I'm now ending the day in the clear. In the clear, there's an encounter on a 6. 4, no encounter. 1 day has gone by. Next day, we're in the clear. Do we get lost? 2, in the clear, we are not lost. Now I want to take this trail. Trails through the mountains count as 2 movement. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I can't move the extra because I only have 10 movement points. On a trail, I treat it as a river. So there's an encounter on a 5 or a 6. I suppose you could treat it on whatever the terrain you're in, but I always treat it as a river. I just feel like that on the trail, maybe it's less likely the monsters would be there because they're dwelling in caves and stuff. You're more likely to run into them if you're kind of off wandering. 3. It's funny. Either case, there would not have been an encounter. So, boom, nothing. Another day goes by. Now we're starting on a trail or river, so we only get lost on a 1 on a 6. 2, we are not lost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're 1 away. So basically, we're going to roll. If we get a 6 as an encounter, otherwise we're off the board tomorrow. There's no encounter. Another day goes by. Oh, I guess we have to see if we're lost. But even if we get lost, we're not going to. We are lost. Okay. We're lost. We're going to move in a random direction. 3. So we got to move 1 hex this way. 1. Somehow we get up in the morning and start going the wrong way. But then we can fully recover. 1, 2, and we're off the board. Okay. So it took us 1 extra day. 4 days in, 4 days out. That was actually pretty efficient. So let's think for a second here with these guys. I need to decide, maybe I won't decide right this second, what they want to do. I need to actually check the experience points, but it looks like they may have enough again for everybody to level up. They have lost several companions. There's only 5 of them left. If they delve this dungeon again, they will have to, and they want somebody to help them, they'll have to recruit them on their own because they are now out of the patron contract for this lair. So when we look at the lair, and again, they don't know this exactly, and it's a little bit meta, but hey, the orc lair still has about 5,000 gold pieces in it. They'd also asked some magic items. They did know they were magic items, and they never encountered any of those. The Ogre's Lair, they actually, again, they did not get the majority of the treasure. They got one jewelry worth 2,000, but the Ogre's Lair's got another 6,000 or 7,000 gold pieces. If they come back here and had a successful run through both lairs, they might be able to pick up another 5,000 to 10,000 gold pieces. So there's a very good chance that they might do this. I'm going to sit down and see if they're all on second level. I may do that. I may have them recruit, spend some of their own money, because again, they're coming back with several thousand gold pieces. Use some of their own money to recruit a couple of first level adventurers to join them, just so they have a little, to bulk up a little bit. And then I think they might actually go in for the kill. The other way to do it, and this is maybe more risky, is they could try to recruit a bunch of mercenaries and try to challenge the orcs straight on. The orcs have been getting beat on a little bit, but this could be a chainmail combat, right? I don't think they're high enough level that they want to mess with that. So very likely what's going to happen is they're either going to go back here or they're going to draw a map from the patron. I'll see what other maps are available. There's a lot of maps available, and it might be worthwhile for them to hit another map just so they get the free backup, if you will. And then once they clear that, if the party's still strong, they can come back to this, right? This lair is going to be there. And the thing is, if we decide to not go back for a few months and nobody's going to this lair, then things might change, right? So we'll play that by ear. But I think in the end, what we're going to do is I'll probably look at the maps, make an evaluation, and roll. I don't want to look at all the maps now because there's a lot of them. If you remember, one of the last mappers came back with a ton of maps. And by the time these guys are back home, those maps will be available. So if there's a map that's close to this area, that's relatively small, they might hit that first. I guess we'll find out next time the foxes go out. Thanks for watching. If you've been enjoying these actual play videos, please do like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and ring the bell so you get notifications. Also check the description below. I have links to the various things I use to play these games if you're interested in them. There's also a link down there to my Discord server if you want to sign up over there, and a link to my Patreon if you'd like to support the channel. I'll talk to you soon.